All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Donald. So excited to be here again with the new guest. Today we got Mr. PJ Diction. I'm gonna
Hello,
read a quick
hello, beautiful people.
hello. I'm gonna read a quick bio. All right, so PJ is an international speaker and transformational coach who focuses on results. Despite his disability, which was expected to take his life by 7 years old, he chose to live and live well. PJ truly lives an extraordinary life. Sailing, outdoor skiing, indoor skydiving, trapezing. What's that?
Flying on a trapeze.
Trapeze. Okay.
Yeah.
Zipline, hiking, mountain climbing, snow skiing, water skiing, auto jetpacking, and the list goes on. He's a former wheelchair athlete, international traveler, amateur watercolors, founder of two nonprofit organizations and four disabled sports programs, a published author, 10-degree black belt, martial arts, and women's self-defense instructor, and a meditation teacher. Additionally, PJ has been inducted into the National Hall of Fame for People with Disabilities, awarded the Distinguished Golden Dragon Medal from the Bumpkin International Dojo, recognized with his extremely rare Communication Leadership Award from Toastmasters International, and was nominated to carry the Olympic torch through Tuscan in 2002. PJ generally cares about his clients and audiences, so you can trust with PJ you're in good hands. Wow. Good start to our interview right there. How you doing, PJ?
I'm groovy, man. I'm super glad to be here.
Good to have you. So
Thanks,
yeah,
buddy.
for you guys who don't know, me and PJ both trained under a similar background as far as a little bit with Shonda, and he told me he started doing public speaking. So do you mind telling me where your journey started and how you got into where you are today? We'd
Sure,
love to
man.
hear
I've been
that.
speaking since I was 7 years old. I
Wow.
have a very rare form of muscular dystrophy, which was expected to take my life by the age of 7. And so by the time I was 9 and 10 years old, my mom was, I'd yell for my mom in the morning, "Okay, mom, I'm ready for you to come by and send me and tuck me in." And she would yell back, "Okay, I'm busy. You keep trying." Because she knew that I'd already lived 2 and 3 years longer than I was expected to. And so at that age, she thought, well, if he's going to keep living and he's healthy and strong, then I need to make sure that he develops the skills to be able to take care of himself. So while I would, lay on the floor and try to tuck my shirt in and roll left and right to try to get the right angle and force on my little snap and, the right angle to be able to pull my little zipper up, my mom would be sitting in her bedroom while I'm fighting and struggling, but she'd be sitting in her bedroom crying because she wanted to come over and help me. But she knew that if she did, that I would become dependent. And so by telling me, okay, you keep trying, what she did is she really shaped and forged my spirit of persistence and continuing to keep going, right? Don't give up, get up. And so just exactly like Athena was saying before we started about some monks and nuns, when you're asked, well, what's life? And they say, well, you walk and then you fall down and then you get back up, and then you walk and you fall down and you get back up. So my journey of speaking started at 7 when the Muscular Dystrophy Association found me and said, hey, you don't seem to be shy. How would you like to speak for us? And so I started speaking for the Muscular Dystrophy Association, doing television, radio, live, like fundraising events, on stage, in boardrooms, at fundraising events like golf outings and dance-a-thons at colleges and all of these things. So I've done local and national television and written, I don't know, I think I've co-authored 2 books. I've written one, and I'm actually in the process of writing another one right now.
Wow. What are your books about, if you don't mind me asking you?
Sure. The first one that I co-authored was called To the Top, and that one was a co-authored book, and my chapter was about the how do I phrase it? I'm trying not to mix it up with my current book that I'm writing. The get to versus got to principle, right? So my chapter is about talking your own mind and saying, hey, I get to do that. I want to do that. I get the opportunity. I'm excited about, versus when you say, I've got to do that, then there's this pressure. I have to do this. There's this sense of weight. I must do that. I need to do that. I have to do that. All of a sudden, there's all this pressure on us, and there's this internal resistance. We don't want that. So that chapter specifically was about paying attention to your thinking and changing what you say and how you say it. So if I say I get to do something versus I've got to do something, I get to lightens me up and opens me up. I've got to creates this weight and this internal resistance. The next book was just a book, or another co-authored book where I did a chapter on my business strategies. And then I wrote a book called 5 Ways to Date Yourself and 1 Big Reason Why You Should. And in fact, it's a book for women. So it seems that you've got a lot of women following you today. So I'd be more than happy to share that book with the women that are on here also, including my other free gifts. So, if any of the women want a free copy of, it's like 100, I think 17 pages or something like that. 5 Ways to Date Yourself and 1 Big Reason Why You Should. Because I think that women really deserve the chance to know who they are. And instead of lowering the standards, let's raise your standards so that the men that come into your life really have to work to be able to deserve you. Don't lower your standards, and then this most recent book is called Don't Give Up, Get Up. And that's just about don't get defeated. Like, don't let something overwhelm you. Don't be afraid. Don't quit. Even though you might fall, get back up. It's okay. Some of the greatest sayings to me are the sayings that say, there's a samurai saying that says, get knocked down 7 times, get up 8. How do you get up 8? If I get knocked down 7 times, how do I get up 8? Well, if I get knocked down once, I get up once. I get knocked down twice, I get up twice. 3 times 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7. How do I get up 8? Because some people don't even get up in the morning. They don't even get out of bed. So the very first thing is you got to get up and get out of bed, right? You got to get up and get moving, no matter what's going on in life.
Wow, you said a mouthful right there, brother. Wow. I'm gonna start with the get to instead of got to that one right there. So that's something I actually learned.
I said commitment. That's right, Sally.
Sorry, right. No, that's actually a good thing because like when you say you got to do something, it's like a burden. Like, oh, I gotta go walk out, take the trash. I gotta go do this, gotta do that, and it's like all this stuff you gotta do. But if I get to do it, it's almost like you're excited to do it, and that's actually very interesting. You said that. Now,
well, look at this. Hold on one sec. Let me add to this. Okay, no living creature wants to be a slave. No living creature wants to have its power controlled or taken. All living things need power to survive, right? And so if all living things need power to survive, the moment someone tries to take your power and tries to control you, there's that level of resistance, right? However, it happens in the same in your own brain. If you say, I have to do this, part of your brain goes, don't tell me what I have to do, right? You must do this. You need to do this. You've got to do this. No, I don't want to. How many times have you or any of your listeners said to yourself, I've got to do that. I've got to get that done. I need to get that done. And it doesn't get done. 2 days, 3 days, 2 weeks, 2 months happen, maybe 2 years before anything takes action. But the moment you shift and you say, no, I get to, I want to, all of a sudden what happens is there's freedom opens up. And we embrace freedom. We embrace the opportunity to be able to make decisions and be able to move freely without being controlled. Even your own thinking will give you that sense of feeling oppressed. So watch what your brain says to you. There's 2 parts of you. I mean, we can get into it more deeply, but really, if we break the brain down into 2 different functions, there's the unconscious and the conscious. The unconscious will keep you small. That's not aspiring to greatness. That's aspiring to just survive. That's it. Okay. But the conscious mind aspires to greatness. The conscious mind sees vision. The conscious mind gets excited. The conscious mind says, I'm excited about, I want to go and experience. Right. And so when we shift that, when we pay attention to what our unconscious mind is doing and saying to us, and we shift that, we catch that quickly, then all of a sudden we can transform. Change is inevitable. Transformation is a choice. You're going to change whether you like it or not. But will you transform into what you want to be?
So inspiring, brother. Thanks. I also like your background. I know you used to say this is martial arts. Tell us about how that changes. Obviously, I know like trying to like master yourself is different than just trying to be like everyone else. So when you're competing, it's like you're literally trying to compete with yourself, like Bruce Lee would say or something like that. So tell us how that kind of helps shape your mindset and your mentality, because you got such a great mentality.
Thanks, man. Well, I'd say the mentality might come from genetics, it might just be the way I was born, but it's definitely the way I was raised. So I am in a wheelchair. I'm a disabled man. I can't lift my arms, actually. You see me moving around, right? but my arms are basically just, they just sort of hang at my sides, and I can fling them around and use a little bit of tricep. So in martial arts, you would think that you have to step out of the way, you need to block, you need to be able to use weapons. Well, when people attack me, if they just like stand there and throw their arm out, I can't do anything because there's no power exchange, right? And so this is an important piece, power exchange, because in every relationship, every interaction, there's a power exchange, right? Either sometimes people are trying to take power, sometimes people are giving their power up, sometimes there's just an exchange. Let me share some of mine, and then you share some of yours, and I'll receive what you share, and you receive what I share. So if somebody actually comes in with real force, then I tie people up with my neck, my head, because I can use my spine. I can, if somebody's punching from over here, I can tie them up and pull their arm over here. And when they're off balance, then I can drop them. So I'm limited in what I can do. But what you look at in martial arts is, how do you survive, right? There's a great story that says there were two martial artists or two samurai that were riding in a ferry from one island to another. And the samurai that was in the front of the ferry is boasting and bragging about all the battles and duels he's been in. And he sees a quiet, samurai sitting in the back. And after he gets done telling some of his stories and bragging and, being the big guy on the boat, he walks back and he sits down next to the other samurai and he says, "Brother samurai, how is it that you do not share your stories and boast about your battles and the people that you've killed?" And the quieter samurai says, "Because we practice two different arts. You practice your art is the art of defeating. My art is in not being defeated." And so for me, that's how I look at martial arts. How can I survive? Because the martial art that I teach, there are 6 samurai schools and 3 ninja schools. And the word ninja means people who persevere. So how can I survive this situation? How can I, even in my own life, as I've gotten weaker, because in 2019, I got a virus that caused me to lose about 85% of my physical strength. So how do I keep going? Because you become resilient by looking at your vision. What is your goal? Where do you want to go? What is it that you want? You can either look at the pain and the fear and the worry and the doubt, or you can look at the vision and the goal and the drive and what you want. And when you look at what you want, you'll do everything you can to survive. You'll do everything to reach your greatness. You'll do everything you can to win, right? But it's not really about winning in the beginning. It's about, in the beginning, it's just about, can I survive? And then after, can I survive? Can I live in a way that feels good? And then can I start to thrive? And then do I have enough to share with other people? And then can I lead other people? So there's an evolution in martial arts. It's an art, right? It's an art. And as we practice any art, enlightenment comes. There's a level of deepening, of understanding, of compassion, of love, of generosity, of patience, And so it's just a practice, first and foremost, of letting go. What can I let go of? That which doesn't serve me. And then the other piece is, how do I empower myself to become what I want to become? I only teach 2 things, whether I'm speaking from stage or whether I'm working with my clients. I really only teach 2 things: letting go and empowerment, empowered action, really. What can I let go of, and how can I take some empowered action? When you study those, you realize they support each other like the yin and yang. When you study them even more deeply, you realize that they're basically the same thing. You have to take empowered action, or rather, empowered action is letting go, and you have to be able to let go to take empowered action.
Wow. Yeah, that's, again, a mouthful right there, brother. You're saying a lot of good stuff there. We have one question in the chat here. It says, what do you mean by letting go?
Yeah. So it depends on what the situation is. What are they clinging to? What are they holding to? Sometimes it's letting go of your ego. Sometimes it's letting go of your fear. Sometimes it's letting go of your anger and your resentment and your frustration and your sadness, right? Sometimes it's letting go of, for me, there were times when I was getting weaker because my disorder is progressive, which means that over the course of my life, I'm 52, and I was only supposed to live until I was 7. I've lived 45 years longer than I was supposed to at the timing of this video, or the timing of this recording. And so I think it's really important for people to realize that as I got weaker, I struggled to just get out of the shower. And as I would slip and fall, at some point I would get upset and I'd be like, okay, God, I get it. Like, you want me to be more focused. But then I had to let go of the frustration so that I could empower myself and use the resources that I need. Sometimes anger is beneficial because it strengthens you, but sometimes it just causes things to fall apart, like relationships, you know? So letting go is dependent upon where you are in your life. Sometimes letting go is just, you know, I don't believe that I can do it. The moment you have that thought in your mind, let it go. Exchange it. Think about letting go. Instead of letting go, think about letting go as an exchange. I don't believe in sacrifice. I believe in a willing exchange. So we willingly exchange something that we might want for something we want more of. So I don't believe in sacrifice. So when you think about letting go, think about it just simply as, what can I exchange? What's not working? And how can I let that go or exchange it for something that would work for me? Did that answer the question?
I believe that answered the question, Sally. She
Sally
says it
says,
did.
yes, thank you. You're welcome.
Yes. So let me ask you a question, PJ. Obviously, you have a real reason to look at life like, you know, and make up excuses why you can't do this, why you can't do that.
Yeah.
And someone like me, I might have some excuses too. But
Huh.
how does it feel like when people might say, well, oh man, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that? Growing up, when did you like make a stand, like put the line in the sand saying, you know what, I'm gonna stop making excuses for myself. Okay, I know I can do it despite what anybody's telling me. When did that come out for you? Because I feel like yeah, that's something I really want to ask you.
My whole life. Really, the only two people that I can think of that off the top of my head that I can think of that told me I couldn't do things, and I hate to say this, but my dad, and he would, in some areas, he would encourage me and say I could, but in other areas, he would tell me that I couldn't. So I was getting some really mixed messages, right? Like, for example, martial arts. When I was, I think 9, I asked him if I could train martial arts. And he said, yo, you can't train martial arts. You walk in leg braces. So, you know, and doctors, you know, doctors like, well, you'll never be able to do this. You'll never be able to walk.
Right.
And I threw away my leg braces in 3rd grade and walked without them from 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. 6th grade, I got them again. And then when I wasn't able to walk anymore, I kept falling down in the 8th grade, 7th and 8th grade. I was just too weak to walk anymore, more than like 15 or 20 feet. And then the doctors said, you know, you've got to put him in a wheelchair. So they put me into an electric wheelchair. And when I got to college, I saw all of these other guys that were in electric wheelchairs and looked really disabled, and all of these guys that were athletes that were like paraplegics, paralyzed from the waist down, you know, so they had normal upper bodies. And I said, if I have a choice, if I have to be disabled and I have to be in a wheelchair, then I could be like these guys that are in electric wheelchairs, or I could be like the guys who play sports. So I gave up my electric wheelchair and I picked up my manual wheelchair and worked out 3 or 4 times a week. And I didn't get very much stronger just because of the nature of my disability. I did develop endurance, but I really didn't get that much stronger. And so I've always had that drive. And I think that came from my mom. Maybe I was born with some of it, but I think it was my mom. So when people told me I couldn't, there's really only 2 people that I can think of right now as I'm talking to you. My dad sometimes, often, and my doctors, you know, and whenever the doctors would say it, I'd always think to myself and even tell my mom on the way home, just watch, they don't know me. Watch, I'll do it. And, you know, I have to find ways, bro. Like when I jump out of planes, I don't jump out of a plane by myself. That wouldn't be very wise. So I get strapped in the front of a big dude. So when I jump out of a plane, it's more like being kidnapped, because whether I want to go or not, I'm going.
Right,
you know?
right.
Yeah. So when I do indoor skydiving, I have to have 2 people there, on 1 person on each side of me, to be able to catch me if I start to tumble. You know, if I do aqua jet packing, I have to be strapped to the front of somebody. I don't have the hands to control the equipment for that. Snow skiing, I have somebody that skis behind me and is tethered to me. They have a rope or a cord that's connected to me, you know, but they keep it loose when I ski, but they'll tighten it if I get out of control. So I have to find ways, but I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
You know, when I climb in the Grand Canyon, there's a great story of me climbing the Grand Canyon with 2 of my best friends. And we're out, you know, when I go to the Grand Canyon, I don't go to the Grand Canyon like everybody else where we go and we look. Like, wow, that's really beautiful. I go to the Grand Canyon with my friends, and we're like, wow, this is a really beautiful place. I'd love to be on that ledge. So we throw my wheelchair underneath a bush or tree. I climb on my friend's back. We climb up and over the rail and down into the Grand Canyon. Now, if you've ever been to the Grand Canyon, there are times when you're standing there and you look down and it's more than a mile to the bottom.
Yeah.
Right? It's way down there.
Yeah.
So at one point, my friends, we climb up and over the rail and down into the Grand Canyon, and we're on top of these two big rock spires, right? These two big peaks that are jutting up. So Jeff and I are at the top. My friend Tim is standing way down below me. And Jeff goes, and Tim's standing on about a 14-inch ledge, probably at, I don't know, 25-degree incline, something like that, right? And he's kicked off most of the gravel, and there's not much space for Tim to stand. Jeff goes, okay, Tim, and Jeff grabs me by my wrists, okay? Literally grabs me by my wrists, and he goes, I'm going to lift PJ up, and then I'm going to squat and lower him down as far as I can. And on 3, I'm going to drop him. On 3, he's going to drop me. 1, 2, 3. He lets me go over the edge of the Grand Canyon. My friend Tim catches me. This is living, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not climbing, but I'm climbing in a way that no disabled person probably ever has.
Yeah.
Not that, I mean, maybe a small handful. Tim pulls me up against his chest, catches me, thank goodness, because had he missed me, I would have fallen, no lie, probably a half a mile before I would have hit anything. Okay? Tim pulls me up against his chest, and we squeeze between the two giant rock spires that I mentioned, right? And we walk out on this ledge. As we get to the very edge, Tim slips and falls on his butt and his back. And we slide to the edge, and his feet and ankles go over the edge. That's living.
Yeah.
You know why? Because for me, in that moment when you're faced with life and death, you choose life. You aspire, right? You aspire to live a greater life. But most people don't when life is just normal. And so for me, despite the fact that I've got the disability, I will always find a way to do the one thing that I really want to do. There's always a way. Sure, it may look slightly different. You know, my method of climbing is different than your method. Yeah. It's still climbing more so than sitting at home watching TV. You know what I mean? There's always a way.
So yeah, you are living life, and I'm
Thanks,
so thankful to have you here. Now, I was thinking about what you were saying about having all these people around to help you. You know, obviously have some of these fun times you're having.
Your sound is kind of out. I can hear you, but yeah, go again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, much better. Yeah, much better.
Oh, sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah, so I realized, like you were saying, you know, it takes a team kind of like to help you out on doing some things you're doing. And you're such a motivational speaker, obviously. What are some ways you take that life that you have and help others with communicating to help them get over their limiting beliefs or whatever excuses they might have for themselves? What are maybe some activities you help people out with, if you don't mind me asking you?
Yeah. So a lot of times the obstacle that's in their way is their own thinking, right? And so I don't often use my disability as a way to say, well, look at me. If I can do it, you can do it. Yeah, that's great. But it doesn't necessarily land with people, right? You can, and then you have people, and I love Tony Robbins and I love Dean Graziosi. They're amazing human beings, right? But you have people out there that are saying, you need to find your why. You need to find your greatest why. What's your why that's going to drive you? Look, like I'm writing about this right now in my book. Don't give up, get up. You know, it's not about finding your greatest why, because how many people do you know that have heard those words and they can't quite get themselves in motion still? And then you hear these people say, it's because you don't have a strong enough why. I get it. But like, I've been looking for my why. I've been trying to find my why. I've been trying to create my why. And I can't seem to develop my why. But I'll tell you what, if you're married and you have children and your spouse dies, and I'm not trying to scare anybody, but if that happens, to take care of those children or to live, to get up, even though you're sad and heartbroken, your why is automatically there. It's already there. If you need a greater why, it will be there. Otherwise, it's about letting go of what's holding you back, right? So when I work with people, I say, well, let's look at what might be holding you back. What are your fears? What are your worries? What's your head saying to you, right? Are you thinking about other people and the judgment that you might be getting? So what we do is we explore the dynamics between the conscious and the unconscious mind. For example, I'll give you a quick example. Oftentimes, there is somebody in our life that seems to put us down, right? Or we feel smaller in their presence, or we don't feel very empowered, right? Or we sort of like, we defer to them, or, there's some kind of fear or power dynamic there that isn't balanced. Okay. So the problem is that if there's a power differential there that doesn't work, where they're bigger and more dynamic, more powerful, more authority than you, then you're thinking of yourself as smaller. So what I do is I help people see themselves in front of the other person. Usually I have them put the other person on a stage and look up at them and in their mind, right? And then see themselves on the floor looking up. And then I have them do a breathing exercise, where as you breathe in, you get taller and bigger and proportionally larger. And you breathe in kindness and love and generosity and patience, and your floor rises up, right? And as you exhale, their floor comes down, they get smaller, quieter, squeakier, right? And so as you breathe in again, your floor rises up, you get proportionally larger, but you're also breathing in kindness, love, forgiveness, generosity, patience, all the delicious stuff. When you exhale again, as you exhale, they get smaller and further away because their floor is lowering, and they're getting smaller simultaneously, and their voice starts to get squeakier and squeakier, like to the point like it gets softer and softer until it starts to get squeaky, and then you can't even hear it as you do this process. And I have them do this until that person becomes so small that they're smaller than the tiniest ant that they've ever seen. And then I say, now you have choices. Okay. If this person is somebody you don't want in your life anymore, just squat down, physically actually do this now, and flick them out of the way. You can reach down and pick them up, roll them between your fingers, throw them over your shoulder. And reach down, pick them up, throw them over your shoulder. Or if there's somebody like maybe your mom or your mother-in-law, right? You reach down, you pick them up, and you go, okay, I don't want to hurt you, and you can't get rid of you out of my life, but I don't want you to control me. So I'm going to put you behind me. I'm going to think about a shelf behind me. I'm going to put you behind me and sit on a shelf. So I can still come back and get to you, but I can't hear you. You're super tiny. You can't stop me. You can't pull me back. You can't get in my way. I can't even hear you. And I'm only going to know that you're there because I put you there. And then you turn around and you're always better. Why? Because of the way the brain works, right? Because all of a sudden there's a difference in the power dynamics, because you breathed in kindness and gentleness and courtesy, and because you can't hear them anymore, because now you put them behind you. There's all kinds of things that are happening inside of the mind. So the biggest obstacle of any human being is usually their unconscious mind's effort to keep them safe. But the problem is that it makes them play small. They can't aspire to greatness if they're buying into what their unconscious mind is saying about just play small, be safe, and just survive. Because that part of the unconscious mind, that there's a specific part that just wants you to survive. That's all. That's all its job is. Did that answer your question? I see a question that says, how do you not ignore people in a hurting, what did that say?
I'll read it to you. It says, how do you not ignore people in a hurtful way when you're minimalizing their negative voice? Does that question make sense? I can read it again.
Yeah, read it one more time for me, please.
How do you not ignore people in a hurtful way when you're minimizing their negative voice?
Okay, so I think the keys are, how do you ignore them in a non-hurtful way? So like not looking at them and giving them the attention, but not doing it in a way that's hurtful. I think the important piece is that you have to fill yourself up first. Okay, fill yourself up with that love, that kindness, that generosity. In fact, let's look at the title of this summit: Aspire to be great. Aspire means to breathe, right? So if we rephrase that, breathe to be great. Why? Why does that work? Because when we breathe, meditate basically, but don't worry about quote unquote meditation. Just do conscious, intentional breathing. Just breathe and just be aware of your breath, and let yourself breathe rhythmically. Don't worry about, oh, I've got to take a deep breath. Don't worry about a deep breath. It's nice to take 2 or 3 deep breaths to just stretch out the muscles around your lungs, around your ribs, but just breathe rhythmically and allow your mind to settle. You'll find your body will physically settle, your muscles will relax, and your spirit will open up. When you come from a place of compassion, because that's what will happen, you'll come to a place of compassion, a place of grace inside of you. that's when you can communicate with that person from that space of grace. And you're welcome, you're always welcome to say, hey, the way you're communicating with me is not okay. And so I'm going to choose kindness and generosity and respect. I'm going to step away. You don't have to say that if you think that it's just going to draw you into a fight or an argument or a disagreement. You can just choose it inside of your own heart and soul. You don't have to ignore someone, okay? But you can simply say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go and do this instead. I'm going to step away. I'm going to create some space for myself. If they want to pull you back in, you can simply smile. But if you notice the sound of the tone of my voice has come down, if I stay consistent like this, someone who's angry and upset and yelling will eventually calm down also. The thing is, who is in control? You or them? In fact, I asked this my audience this yesterday in a video that I did. I said, who is making your decisions? You or your distractions, right? And so let's ask the same question, but slightly different. Who is making your decisions? You, the conscious, compassionate, kind, loving, generous you, or your fears? If you're making decisions out of fear, it can hurt people, including you. But if you're making decisions out of kindness, love, compassion, and generosity for yourself and for them, then no matter what you say, it's not what you say, it's the way you say it. The way you say it is going to come from a space of authenticity, right? The difference between authenticity and authenticity is you at your core. Integrity is your core, that authenticity in motion. Authenticity is the noun, integrity is the verb. You're in motion with that authentic core, with that kind, patient, loving space. And so if you come from that place, then you will speak only truth. You never need to remember what to say. You only need to be aware of what's coming through you in that moment. In fact, I say this all the time. I don't need, as a coach, and even as a professional speaker, I say this all the time. I don't need to know anything because God knows everything. And that might sound religious. It's not spiritual. I don't need to know anything when God knows everything. But I do need to be humble, and I do need to be open, and I do need to get my own ego out of the way and just wait. And if I don't know what to say, sometimes it's better to A, not say anything, or B, ask a question to get some more information so that I can let more information come in. But all the while, finding ways to let go of my attachments, my anger, my resistance, my sadness, my hurt, my frustration, let that stuff go and only come to your authenticity, come to your core, come to that place of love for self, for spirit, for divine, for life, for humanity, love for kindness, love for compassion, love for patience, love for forgiveness. Come from that space. There's real truth in that. Is that okay?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Katie wrote some more specific stuff here. Let me go through it. It says, because the negative words are hurtful to the receiver and it's hard for the empath like me not to ruminate ruminate on them
Ruminate, yeah.
sometimes. Ruminate on them sometimes. Any suggestions aside from deep breathing? And then she also says, more specifically, I hate to say it, but a potential business client cussed at me because he felt rejected. Not okay. I thought about it quite a few times.
Yeah. Okay, so listen, first of all, rumination. What is rumination? Rumination is this. I'm thinking about it, 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 I'm thinking about it. But you're not thinking about it. It's not you, it's your unconscious mind. The unconscious mind is ruminating on it. You, the conscious you, are not. You, the conscious you, have just given into the rumination. The unconscious mind is controlling that, right? And so if you do that activity that I talked about before, where you breathe in and you get larger, but breathe in kindness, love, generosity, compassion, and let yourself expand, you may wind up being the size of the planet, the solar system, the galaxy, the universe, right? And they may become smaller than the smallest little atom if you need to do that. But I guarantee the moment that you shift the power differential, things will be better. And if a client yelled at you, you have to ask yourself, is that the kind of relationship that you want to have with clients? Is that acceptable? It's actually okay for you to fire clients. I mean, you're not like, you're fired, but it's like, hey, maybe I'm not serving you. So Maybe we should end our contract. Not even maybe. Be sure of who you are. I think this isn't working out for either of us. So I think I'm not even think, right? See, both of those that you hear me say is me attempting to be kind instead of authentic. So if I shift into my authenticity, I just say, hey, this isn't serving me anymore, and I don't believe it's serving you. So I'm going to end our connection, our contract, and you're welcome to find someone else. Or I have somebody that I think might work better for you. Let me make an introduction for you. And then leave it at that. Let your truth be your truth. And so give me 1 second. I want it to come through me instead of from me. So I'm going to be quiet for just a minute. Because Katie, you said something important. You said, I think it was Katie, you said you don't want, you need something that your mind is ruminating on it, right? And you don't want you want something different than breathing. So give me a sec, because there's something in me that wants to come out. So give me a sec. Yeah, okay. So you're not standing in your authority. You're looking at yourself from their perspective. And from their perspective, there's judgment. And you're accepting that judgment. Okay. Buddha said, if someone gives you a gift and you don't accept it, whose gift is it? Well, it's still theirs. Right. And so if you shift from, here's another technique. Okay. If you look at, when you think about that situation, are you seeing it through your own eyes, first person? Are you seeing the other person? Right. Are you seeing the phone if you're talking to them on the phone? Are you seeing the computer through your own eyes if you're talking to them on Zoom, right? Or are you out here seeing yourself over there with the phone in hand, seeing yourself in front of the computer, over here, seeing yourself standing in front of that person, right? So that's disassociated. Seeing through your own eyes is associated. So if you are currently experiencing association where you're like looking through your own eyes and feeling this yuck inside of you, dissociate for a moment. Step out and look at yourself and look at them and look at the situation. The moment you dissociate, the moment you step away, you'll step away from that emotion of feeling of the rumination and of the personal judgment, okay? And the hurt. You might still feel the hurt, but there won't be the attachment to the hurt. You'll be like, oh, that was most unpleasant. If you're dissociated and you're seeing this things out here, right, as if you're a third person looking at yourself and the other person engaging in conversation, then step into your body. Associate. Look at them, or feel like you're holding the phone in your hand, or feel like you're looking at them through the Zoom screen, or feel like you're looking at them through your own eyes with them standing in front of you. And that will change it also. Okay. And then what you do is you regain your power when you do that. I remember getting ready to do a presentation on a stage in Ohio 3 years ago or something. And I didn't feel like I was really prepared for this speech for whatever the reasons were. I think I had too much going on and didn't feel adequately prepared. So I was a little bit nervous. And as I was writing, I was like, why am I nervous? I was writing to the event. And so I looked at that same thing that I'm telling you to look at. And what I was doing is I saw myself on stage, but I saw myself in a wheelchair in front of the stage, but I was looking from way back here, 2/3 of the way back from the stage in the back right corner, right? I was looking from way back here, and I was looking at myself, judging myself. And the moment I was like, oh, I'm dissociated and judging myself. So the moment I shifted and came inside of my own eyes, I was excited. I was vibrant. I was filled with life. I was filled with integrity. I was excited. I felt this love for the audience and this love coming back from the audience, and it felt amazing. And I was like, oh, that was the problem. I was just dissociated. So let me just reassociate and reconnect. So try that. Hopefully that will help.
Wow, TJ, thank you so much. I think it's so important to have somebody in your corner to kind of help out as an observer sometimes, because sometimes you don't see a way out because you're so involved in what's happening. So I want to thank you so much. Before we close out, tell us where people can find you and where we can get some more information from you, brother.
Sure. So if you can find me at pjswisdom.com. Website needs a little TLC, but it's good enough. PJSwisdom, WISDOM.com, pjswisdom.com. And also email me if you want. Just send me a quick email that says, aspire to great podcast in the subject, or a summit in the subject line. and then email me at pj@pjswisdom.com. And you can find me, on the social medias at usually PJ's Wisdom or the PJ's Wisdom. And you want me to tell them about my free gift, or is that you're not ready for that?
Yes. No, tell them. Yeah, I'll be giving them out. I'll be giving the free gifts out to everybody. So just, yeah, tell them about the free gift.
Sure. So if anybody's interested in the free gift, like there are two, I remember I said I was going to give you a second one. So let me give you the first one that I promised. It's just simply a 20-minute call with me. Jump on a 20-minute call. If you got something going on and you're like, yeah, but I'm sort of struggling, I can't figure it out, jump on a call with me. Let's just chat for 20 minutes and identify what might be bugging you and help you shift. Those who shift the quickest are the most successful. Those who shift the quickest are the most successful. We don't need an hour. When 20 minutes will be fine. If we can identify what's holding you back, then we can identify methods of releasing it. Okay. And the second gift, and that you probably in their email, they probably have that link. Is that true? Did you give them that link? Because I sent it to you.
I'll send it out a little bit later, but yeah, just tell us what it is and I'll make sure I get it to them. Sure.
It's just that free gift that I told you about. Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't have the.
You mentioned the book. I don't know if that's that's not what it was it? You mentioned the book earlier, like you're gonna
No. I'll give you the book address for that. But the other one I sent to you via email.
Cool. So yeah, I'll follow up with you guys about that. Okay. So yeah.
And then if they want the book, if you want the free 117 page ebook called 5 Ways to Date Yourself and One Big Reason Why You Should. I know it's not that kind of summit, but heck, maybe it could help, right? Because it is helping you to aspire to be great within yourself, getting connected with yourself. Just go to 5 ways, the number 5 ways, WAYS.pjswisdom.com. 5, the number 5, WAYS.pjswisdom.com. 5ways.pjswisdom.com. Groovy? Yep, there it is. Donald put it in there. Perfect. Thanks, man.
My brother, appreciate you. Last question, then we're gonna get you out of here. I'm so sorry about that. It says, do you struggle with retaliation when you're surrounded by naysayers? Katie, with the good questions today. Thank you.
Yeah, that is a great question. So the key in here is, do you struggle? Okay. And the answer is usually no. Sometimes yes, because I'm human, right? But the moment I realize that I'm struggling, I recognize that I've given my power to someone or something else. Okay. And I go back in and I reconnect with my authenticity, my integrity, with the connection to source. I can do that through meditation. You can do that through prayer. You can do that through journaling. Some people like to jog. Some people like to paint. Some people like to hike. Some people, I like do something called one breath mushin, one breath, no mind, right? And so if the problem is struggling with naysayers, then 2 things. 1, remember that there are dream stealers and dream eaters out there, and you don't want to tell them your dreams. And that's what it sounds like. You told people some of your dreams and they're trying to devour them. Because they haven't or don't know how, they don't think you can. Don't listen to them. That's not truth. The word desire comes from, you break it in its 2 parts. Desire, means of or from the Father. Again, I'm not being religious, but think about Father as in creator, okay? So if your desire comes from source, maybe you can listen to that instead of what other people are saying. So the struggle that you might be experiencing if you're surrounded by naysayers is because you're telling naysayers what you want to do instead of doing it. Don't talk, do, okay? There's that saying that says, those who can't do talk, and those who can do don't talk, right? And the second piece is, so not only just don't tell them, but taking that action. The second piece is, is that you must take action from your core, from your heart, from your personal power. You cannot take action from just thinking, okay, well, I'm going to try this. You have to commit. If you don't commit, it won't happen. Commitment creates follow through. Resilience is born from commitment. If you don't have commitment, you won't be resilient. No matter what somebody says, if you have resilience, they'll never be able to pull you under. They might pull you under, but remember, you're like a bobber, you'll pop right back up because you're resilient. The word resilient means to bounce back. Okay, so check in with your own core, your own heart, your own soul, your own desire. And if that's your truth, then commit to it, no matter what anybody says. And look, again, it goes back to I'm sounding like Tony Robbins, and when he's like, you got to find your greatest why. If that commitment thing is scary for you, then it's better to look at what is holding you down or holding you back or in your way. So think about it like this, metaphorically. Is something pulling on you from behind? You're trying to go forward, and it's just tugging at you. It's like dragging a boulder. Is something grabbing your ankles and pulling you under? Is something heavy weighing down on top of you? Or is something in front of you keeping you the resistance, and you just feel like you're just pushing up against resistance? So it's not really about the commitment. It is for little things. It's about what can you let go of, what's holding you back. So the moment you let go of what's holding you back, commitment is already there. Commitment is literally, and resilience, commitment and resilience are literally waiting right there for you. They're just waiting for you to let go of the things that are holding you back. The moment you let those go, the universe abhors a vacuum. So the moment you let something else go, what fills its space? The moment you let anger go, what fills its space? Patience, calm, love, compassion. The moment you let go of the naysayers' judgments, when you let go of judgment, what's left? Confidence, commitment. And remember, confidence is born from capability. Okay? So if you're not feeling confident, it's just because you're not capable yet. Or not, it's not that you're not capable. Capable is the wrong word. I'm going to forget the word right now. I'll remember it. But confidence comes from your ability to get good at something. So continue to practice it, okay? I can't think of the word that I'm looking for, but it's this idea that the more you practice, the more you go, oh, I can do that. The more confidence is naturally born from that space. So let go of what's holding you back, okay? And then you'll be able to naturally move forward freely. The naysayers they're just wind. They're just words. They're just noise. And if you give them the power, then you believe them instead of your own heart, your own core, your own soul. The only thing that survives past your death, that consciousness. And you give them the power, don't do that. Reach out to me, call me. Let's get on that call, that 20-minute call, right? And let's figure out what's holding you back. Okay? Is this okay, brother?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, PJ.
You're welcome.
This was a great interview. I would love to have you back. We could talk some more on another event, of course. You're such a wise man. Thank you so much. And yeah, we're signing out. We'll be back here tomorrow at 6 p.m. for another event. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night. See y'all later.